let's go back, step back. What is your superpower? What is a superpower? A superpower is something that you are really good at, that you can help contribute to a better world by doing whatever it is that you do so well that you can share. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for coming back. If this is the first time that you are listening to the What's My Superpower podcast, welcome. And if you're on the YouTube, then absolutely brilliant. But, remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, put a comment in there. That'd be great. If it's the podcast, I'd love you to go back out there and give a review. That'd be fantastic. Apple Podcasts, that'd be great, especially if you put one on. I'll give you a shout out in one of the episodes coming up. Hopefully spot that and give you a shout out on that. But today's episode is a great question. Can I change my superpower? Oh, what a great question. That is absolutely fantastic. And you kind of got to go back and sort of go, okay, right, let's go back, step back. What is your superpower? What is a superpower? A superpower is something that you are really good at, that you can help contribute to a better world by doing whatever it is that you do so well that you can share and make other people's lives better. That's a superpower. And it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be, you could be the world's best helping someone across a road person. You could be the second best helping someone across the road person. You could be the 1,000,000th best helping someone across a road person. Hey, if you help someone across a road and that's what you do, and they have enjoyed the fact that you've helped them get across the road, I don't care if you're the best, the worst, or somewhere in the middle. To me, that is a superpower, and keep doing it. But people will say, can I change my superpower? And maybe they might say, can I have more than one superpower? Or they might say, does my superpower change over time? Well, I would say yes, yes, and yes. And you might think, well, that's a bit easy to say that. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I liken it to this. When you were a kid, and say you read books, children's books, okay? And you might have watched on TV children's cartoons. So now the kids today are playing certain computer games on YouTube, watching certain YouTube videos and things like that. Because you are good at that. So someone might be really good at reading. So when you're a kid, you might be really good at reading books. That's your superpower. You love doing it. You love reading books, and you love telling people about the books and what went on in them and sharing that book so they want to read it as well. That could be your superpower as a kid. As you get older, do you still read those kids' books, and do you still try and share that knowledge about kids' books? Well, maybe, but the chances are that as you grow and evolve and as you change, so what you become really good at and what your superpower is might evolve and change as well. It makes sense, yeah? Now, as you grow into an adult, you might find that your superpower is something that is, absolutely honed to perfection. And you can do that for another 50 years. That's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And if you are happy with that and it makes you happy, then that superpower and you being able to share that for 50 years is just brilliant. But the chances are, as we go through life, when you're a kid, you're interested in kid stuff. When you're a teenager, you're interested in, meeting up with friends and doing other things with your friends and being really quite social. Maybe when you get into your 20s or so, you're looking at settling down with a life partner or getting married, whatever it might be. And as you hitting your 30s, you might be thinking about becoming a parent or career, working on your career, and you're trying to become the best at that, and your superpower could evolve over those years. And then as you get sort of into your 40s and 50s, maybe you start reevaluating things, and maybe you start thinking, actually, I want to do this now. I've done that for a long time. I want to do this. And as you get even older than that and your kids leave home, then maybe you go out and you do pick up a hobby again and do something else. And then as you get older, maybe you're mentoring younger people and you're using your life experience and doing it. And then as you get even older, it could be you could be out there helping your fellow senior citizens, OAPs. You might still be able-bodied and you might be fetching food or helping people with their shopping and things like that. And that might become your superpower. That is a long string of ever-changing superpowers throughout your life. So when people say, can I change my superpower? I would say your superpowers probably change within you. And all you need to do is recognize that your superpower is changing and allow it to happen and say, hey, I'm ready for my next superpower. I'm ready to grow and do my next, thing. I'm ready to contribute at the next level or on the next element. That is what's going to happen. Sometimes if we try and hold on to things when we are naturally evolving past it, sometimes we can end up resenting it, or we can resent the fact that we've got to change. And we want to stay where we are. But what we've all got to realize is that as life develops, so we develop, and so things will change. And sometimes trying to stop things changing, that's not so much a superpower. It's beginning to bury your superpower. And I think what you do, you've revealed a superpower. If you've been lucky enough when you're younger, you've revealed a superpower when you were young. But then you might go through a number of years where you feel a bit lost and you're not quite sure what the next one is. So, when you were a kid, your best thing was riding your bicycle over a jump or something like that. But now you've kind of moved on and you should be somewhere else. And sometimes you've got to be careful that as one superpower evolves into another superpower, that you don't sort of always find yourself reminiscing about when you were good at something. Because there's a great phrase, I used to be this and I used to be that. And as they say, used to be's don't make no honey. And what you've got to do is you've got to say, okay, I'm moving on. What's my superpower now? And then you might need to think, okay, I need to go through this again. I need to tune into the podcast. I need to find out more. I need to, get back in on any recommendations of books and things to go in, because I've got, when you're a kid and you've got a wobbly tooth and you don't want that tooth to come out because it's kind of painful, but you don't want to do it. But there's another tooth underneath. But even knowing there's another tooth underneath, you still don't want this one to go. Sometimes you just got to say, okay, this tooth's got to go. I've got to let this next tooth come through. That's what you got to do with your superpower. But for some people, life gets in the way. Pressures get put upon you. So if you're suddenly going out and you've done school, university, college, whatever it might be, and you're getting out into the world and you're thinking about the job and you think, I really want to be this. But suddenly pressure, conformity, normality makes you actually do something else. Are you suppressing your superpower at that point? You might be. And as people look back, I'm sure for those of us, so as I say, I'm 50. Holy schmoly. I can't believe it. Whenever I say it, it doesn't feel like it's me. But I'm 50 and I look back and I know that there were periods in my time, in my life, where I knew what I was good at and I enjoyed what I was good at. But then things moved on. And I lost it. I lost my mojo. I lost my superpower. I kind of suppressed it. I buried it. I hid it. I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't reveal it. I didn't use it for whatever reason. And that's all right. Just know that that's what will happen as you are ready to lose that tooth. That tooth that was working so well up until recently has got loose and wobbly and is about to come out. But the one behind it isn't yet ready. It's not fully out, is it? It's not a perfect tooth. There's a bit of a gap. You've got to let that tooth come up to the right level so that it works properly as a tooth. You've got to do the same with your superpower. So when people say, can I change my superpower? I'll say that your superpower will probably change whether you want it to or not. What you've got to be able to do is recognize it's changing. Look for the next one. And when you see it, nurture it. Make sure nothing covers it. Make sure nothing hides it. Nothing's going to stop that from coming and flourishing and being a great superpower that you can contribute in the next stage of your life to the world. That's what we've got to do. So when people say, I found my superpower, I'm sorted, you are for a bit, but your superpower will change over time. And for some people, there might be a step change in their life. So whereas most of it evolves and it changes gradually, for some of us, there might be a sudden step change. There might be something that, it's almost like you come to a cliff edge and you've got to take a leap off this cliff edge because something has changed so much. And a superpower that was so perfect before, now in your circumstances is not appropriate for where you are, who you are, and what you are. Again, you got to relax. You got to embrace it. You got to take it on board. You got to listen and think, okay, what's it telling me? Does this feel right? Does that feel right? And I would always say that whenever you ask, if I was asking, if you said, okay, I think this is my superpower, and I said, why? And you gave me an answer, and I said, why? And this is like that annoying 6-year-old kid, isn't it? That'll never stop asking why. And you just get to the end where you just go, because it is. But this is the same process. You've got to keep saying why. Why? Because ultimately, you will come back to describing an emotion. And as soon as you get to that point of describing that emotion, then you know whether you're on the right track or not. Because if that emotion is kind of wishy-washy, because I have to, because it makes me feel like I've fulfilled my duties, it makes me feel kind of okay, that's not good enough. When you say, can I change my superpower? Do I have to change my superpower? Is my superpower changing? Will it evolve over time? You're always wanting it to give you that feeling of contentment, happiness, confidence, fulfillment, completeness, all those sort of feelings, those big emotions, those big feelings of joy and happiness. Because if you're not, maybe it's not quite a superpower yet, or maybe it's on the wane, and maybe you're ready for your next one. But this is all part of life. So if you've been thinking to yourself, I think I used to be good at something, but kind of I've lost interest in it, I've lost my love for it, that's fine. That might just be life telling you, hey, it's time to move on and reveal your next superpower. That's cool. You can do that. And if you suddenly think, hey, never mind waiting for things to evolve or whatever, I want to make a step change, you can do that too. There is no harm in saying, I'm ready for my next superpower. Okay, let's go through the process. What do I love? What would I jump out of bed for? And it might be, at the moment, as I'm recording this, the world is still within the pandemic of COVID-19 coronavirus. And there's a lot of people where it's given them a lot of time. It was an abrupt event, wasn't it? Okay, suddenly lockdown, panic, masks, all the rest of it. People working from home, laid off from work, redundancies, businesses shutting, all these, life-changing events. That may have caused you to sit there and reflect and say, hey, maybe now is the time that I make this pivot, this step change, this, change in direction of my life, because I feel that this would give me that feeling of joy ultimately. And there's loads of people who are out there who are saying, hey, I was just on a hamster wheel. I was just doing this. And now I've stopped. I've realized I don't need to chase, big bucks, or I'm happier with a lot less, or the feeling I get from doing this and helping other people far outweighs the company car, or other things. You might be in that category. For other people, it might be, hey, I've just got to get through the daily grind. I am worried about paying my bills, paying the mortgage, paying the electricity, buying food, getting clothes. You might be at that point. There's no reason why, even in those situations, you can't take a moment and just think, okay, if I could choose something different, what would it be? If I could choose to use what I know is my superpower, my ability to do this, which would give me so much satisfaction and joy, can I do it? Your next job is to think, okay, how can I go from here to here so that I can actually reveal my superpower and do it? And you will find inspirational examples all over the place of people who have done that. And they've done it not for the money. They've done it for the inner well-being. They've done it for their mental health. They've done it because they felt they had to. They felt compelled to do it. And they have listened and they've gone with it. And as a result of that, good things have happened to them. It's easy for me to sit here and tell you this. It's easy for other people to show their example. And some people will see it as inspiration. Some people will see it as the sign to get going themselves and say, right, I'm going to do that. Other people will sit there and think, it's all right for them. They're perfectly all right. It's all right for them. They're perfectly all right. You know, what do they know? Well, I look at someone like Marcus Rashford, who's a very young guy, who's a very talented footballer, who's now getting paid a phenomenal sum of money a week. And he was campaigning here in the UK, and he was talking about how he thought it was wrong that school kids during lockdown, because they weren't going to school, weren't getting food. And they were potentially going without a meal. And this is from people who, you know, he's earning millions. And people sort of go, yeah, but, you know, what would you know about that? And he said, because I was one of those kids just a few years ago where if I didn't get a voucher for school lunch, I went hungry. And all of a sudden people go, oh, okay, right, yeah. So you kind of are talking from experience and from the heart. I think sometimes it's sad that you've got to have people who've gone through those things for people to stop and listen. I think sometimes not everyone has to have suffered the situations that they are trying to help for people to listen. And I think somebody's superpower is the ability, if they have been through that situation, to help explain it to other people, and also to give the inspiration to how you can come out the other side. And I think that, you know, you might be thinking, I'm worried about the mortgage, I'm worried about my job, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. Okay, there's only so much worrying we can all do. And there's only so much that worrying does in terms of helping you resolve the situation. And maybe your superpower is to be calm, to be able to handle the worry, and to be able to convert that worry into thinking about, okay, how do I take the next little step in order to get me to where I want to be? And your superpower might be to take great adversity, great stress, great pressure, and be able to just hold that pressure, not let it consume you, and just keep moving on. And as you move on with that pressure, just take a little bit off and throw it away. So each little step, you take a little bit of pressure off and you move on. Each little step. And what might the step be? It might be to talk to people and ask the question, who do you know who might need someone like me? Who do you know who might value my talents? Who do you know who might know someone who wants to talk to me? Can I help them? Who do you know who owns a farm and I'll go cut cabbages for 6 weeks just to get some money? Who do you know who might do this Who do you know who is needing an HR person? Who do you know who is needing an expert in law, or someone who's a teacher but is an expert at online teaching? There's so many ways out there with the connectivity of the internet and the world today. Your superpower could beam its way into somebody's house the other side of the world. And it might be that no one in the UK values who you are, but your superpower could be for the people of another country, anywhere in the world. And your superpower might be so off the wall, so crazy, that you'd never thought that could ever possibly happen. And maybe the person that you need to speak to is someone who can tease out the idea you've got. Tease it out. Throw a few questions at you. Find out how this is your superpower, and then help build something around it whereby you can share that superpower with other people in the world. Maybe that's the person you're looking for. And maybe this podcast can help you think about some of those things. The perspective. Do you know the difference between the number 6 and the number 9 is just which way you are looking at it. That's all it is. It's a perspective. If I put a number 6 on this table and I look at it and it's a number 6, someone sat opposite me looks at it and they say it's a number 9. Who's right? We both are. But it's all about perspective. And sometimes if you're staring at a 6 and you need to find out how to make that into a 9, maybe all you need to do is get up, walk around and look at the problem from a different angle. And maybe then it reveals itself. And maybe then you finding that number 9 by getting up and walking around the table, maybe that helps reveal your superpower. And maybe you just go and talk to people about how they can change how they look at life and the perspective they have on life, and say, yeah, you're absolutely right, it is a 6, but I tell you what, hey, just come with me a minute. Let's just come with me. Let's just go around here and I just want you to come around here. Now have a look at it. What do you reckon it is now? Oh my goodness, it's a number 9. Isn't that great? Maybe that could be your superpower, helping people see something in a different light. Marcus Rashford has. He has helped government see what they saw as a cost, as an expense, as a way of, great, they're not at school, we'd have to spend money on school meal vouchers. He got a way of showing them and saying, hey, just because they're not at school doesn't mean that they're not going hungry. They still need a lunch. And he helped show them a different perspective. And when people talk about government U-turns or politicians U-turning and things like that, I'd like to say it's not a U-turn. They've just been shown a different perspective and they've appreciated something from a different point of view. And maybe the people that got them to do that, that's their superpower. Superpowers come in all shapes and sizes. Okay, but I hope you've got something out of today's episode. But that question, can I change my superpower? Absolutely. Do I need to? Maybe. And does my superpower change over time? So, hey, Nige, what's my superpower? I've just worked it out. But then 2 years down the line, it changes. That's called life. But what I want you to do is always remember that everyone has a superpower in them. For wherever they are in their life, they have a superpower in them. And this podcast, the What's My Superpower podcast, is all about how to reveal your superpower so you can share it and help contribute to a better world. My name's Nigel T. Best. Thank you so much for listening, and be super.